Hello dears, Natalie Locke here with episode 18 of Write the Story, where I give you a prompt out of this book where you have about 400 words worth of space to work with if you write in the book. Really, you have up to 1,000 words if you're writing on your own, because that qualifies as a flash fiction. I also give you 10 words in the prompt, right below it, that you will use to try to incorporate in your story. There's multiple ways to incorporate these words. Sometimes you will incorporate them by not changing the tense, plurality, if that's even a word, of the word whatsoever. Or you can be like me, where you add ing to the very end if it need be to make it work in the context that you're trying to create it. Some people also take the prompt itself and include that in the story. I actually did that this time. Other ways you can do the story is I outline for at least 10 minutes and then I draft for 20 minutes. Other people will take a full 30 minutes to draft, no outlining, and edit for the rest of the time. Other people don't time themselves at all. So pick what works best for you through your process, create your own process, whatever you want to do, and have fun, because it's all about trying new things and exercising your creativity, what have you. Now, let me go ahead and give you the prompt for episode 18, On a Quest. The words to include are medieval, derive, molten, or, rhythm, ears, antique, corn, daughter, yammer. I really enjoyed writing this. It was really fun. I know I just gave you the prompt, but because the way I wrote this story, it kind of has a surprise at the end, I'm gonna do my video a little differently, where I'm gonna go ahead and read the story, then I'm gonna give you the outline and tell you what the difference was between the outline and the story. Episode 18's story is, our steps echo on the pavement as we get into a rhythm in our evening routine. The fog across the neighborhood gave an eeriness. I'm not afraid. I am my father's daughter, I repeated to myself. Leela's ears perk up. We both freeze. I turn my head to hear better, but I'm pretty sure Leela has me beat on hearing skills. Leela tugs on the leash toward a few squirrels yammering over corn. I roll my eyes and pull her back. No, girl, we're on a quest. Don't get distracted. Leela leads the way, but I still feel the need to look over my shoulder. I should have grabbed a weapon on my way out, like the kayak oar by the front door. I chuckle, shaking my head. This isn't medieval times. I have a smartphone. Probably smarter than me, apparently, despite being an antique. It still can make phone calls. Leela steps off the path into a grassy patch. I continue glancing around to ensure we're safe. Leela squats. I stop checking my surroundings. Finally! I exclaim. Leela kicks her feet, cueing me to tug the leash to head back home. Come on, I got a molten cake with my name on it, I say. So what I really enjoyed about this story is that you didn't know the quest. I was very tempted to make it medieval times, a medieval quest, a fantasy, but I also kind of wanted to make it contemporary. Now, here's the thing. It's a little difficult. I'm not sure which way I was playing it safe, because contemporary is my wheelhouse. That's where I'm comfortable. That's where I like to write. Making a quest that usually would be medieval and making it a modern thing kind of is I still think it's a challenge. And in that challenge, I believe I did get stronger. Trust me, one of these days I will try to write a flash fiction fantasy, and we're gonna see how creative I can be. For my outline, the thing that got me started was ears perking up to hear sound. Then I was thinking the rhythm of their steps being in time with each other between the pause and a person's steps. I was thinking squirrels yammering over corn. Wouldn't you know it, even though I had in my notes that the main character derived that the squirrels were yammering over corn, I didn't use derive in my story. I left out a word. I gotta remember to make that note for when I go back and edit all these stories and try to write it better. I did think of my main character being a female. I wanted to use daughter as like an empowerment of I'm my father's daughter. But you know what? I think I'm going to change that, because that is almost an idiom. So I think I'm going to change it to I'm my mother's daughter. Medieval times, using the word medieval, I kind of went around. I was trying to convey, yeah, she had a smartphone, But I think what I might change it to be in the future is it could be she doesn't have a smartphone, but the antique phone still makes phone calls. So she thinks, as a teenager would, that, oh, it's medieval and this phone doesn't work or something, but it still makes phone calls. I think that would be a way to work. But then I also kind of like the little jab at herself where she said, well, apparently this phone's smarter than me, because obviously a kayak oar would not be utilized as a weapon during medieval times. So I wanted to have that little personal jab and chuckle at herself. So I did say that there was a kayak oar hanging by the door. And I did want, for molten, I was thinking molten lava cake because I got a sweet tooth and why not? And even though I had all 10 words utilized in my outline, the only word that changed was derive, and that's because I didn't use it at all in the story. So 1 out of 10 words changed, or better yet, 9 out of 10 words didn't change. And I'm kind of happy with that. When I've taken my dogs out on a leash and everything, I'm like, come on, there's a goal, there's a purpose, there's a quest. Use the bathroom so I can go back inside, especially if it's cold or windy. And actually, that's another way I could have made this story a little stronger, is give the character a push. Other than fog, make it cold, make her tighten the jacket around her, or change the main character's gender whatsoever, or make the main character gender neutral. I could have done any of those and just constantly shake. Now, if I made the main character gender neutral, daughter, I would have to find another utilization of that word, and that makes it a little bit harder. I'd have to play on that a little bit. Speaking of the weather though, I think that paves the way for my least favorite line. My least favorite line is actually the second line, where the fog across the neighborhood gave an eeriness. That only kind of set the tone because you're thinking, oh, it's scary and she's scared. There's multiple times that the main character is scared, but maybe that's when I could have thrown in more weather cues of it's cold. The coldness is like prickling on her face and it hurts practically. I feel I could have added more. So it's not that line is bad, it's that line needs more, because fog alone, I don't think it's strong enough. It did start to pave the story of why the main character's scared, but at the same time, I feel I could have created more suspense. I could have done better with the setting the scene of the weather and such. Incorporate more of the senses of what she was experiencing and why it put her on edge. I could have done better there. Now, for my favorite line, it's not quite favorite line, it's more of how I laid these lines out and how I structured it. And if you were reading it, you would see the paragraph breaks. And the paragraph breaks were, I'm not afraid, I am my father's daughter, I repeated to myself. Next line, Leela ears perked up. Next line, we both freeze. Next line, I turn my head to hear better, but I'm pretty sure Leela has me beat on the hearing skills. That boom, 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 spacing. I don't think I've touched on this on my channel yet, but spacing, where you put your breaks and start a new paragraph over, that are almost like abrupt stops for the reader, and it intensifies the situation if you got a new line. And so if you're trying to convey something, and I did this on a previous live stream, and I'll make sure to link it right here for you. On a previous live stream, I gave the short story where it was the second prompt we did, where the main character ended up in the back seat of her friend's car after she hit her friend's car and she died. Spoiler alert. But when she was in the back seat, the suspense I put in at the end of that story, and which I will keep when I edit that story and make it better, but the suspense I put in was these taglines of the light turned yellow, and then the main character was noticing something, grabbed something, whatever. The light turned red. The driver continued with their intended right turn. So it was these, I'm doing this, here's a light change. I'm doing this, here's a light change. And I felt that really, and even Chandra, who was critiquing me at the time, she felt that created that suspense of like, almost like a countdown a little bit. So I kind of feel like it was a little bit here of creating that tension, that weariness that I wanted to bring to the story. I didn't completely bring it, but that I think is my favorite approach instead of a favorite line. A favorite approach by how I distribute my lines. So something to consider when you're writing your own story, when you want to build suspense and such, is just having a single line, a single sentence per paragraph when you want something to go quick for the reader and to build intensity. Hope you enjoy that writing prompt. Enjoy any of the writing prompts. And I got chapters in each of my writing prompts. If you ever want to jump around to older videos and just click on the prompt part of the chapter, and that way you can write it yourself, it's really fun. I promise you, especially if you do any of the writing challenges that I can share with you throughout the process. I hope you enjoy these flash fictions, and as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your week, enjoy your month, enjoy your year.